It's important you have something you can control in this process. We all know that so many of these pieces are out of your control, but if you create something, it can also be a phenomenal story.
If you're job searching right now, you're in the right place. Welcome to Land Your Next Job, the show that helps you move from ghosting and rejection to interviews and offers. I'm Erika Parker-Price, a certified career coach with a background in tech who has spent nearly a decade helping professionals land roles at companies like Microsoft, Google, and mission-driven organizations. Each week, I share what's actually working in today's job market, from LinkedIn and networking to how AI is reshaping hiring. You'll get clear strategies and inspiration so you can run this marathon without burnout or guesswork. Follow the show and let's land your next job together.
Hello and welcome to Land Your Next Job, episode number 1. I am Erika Parker-Price, and I am thrilled that you're here. You found this podcast, I hope, because I named it something that is clear and simple. I know that the job search right now is not necessarily either of those things. So I wanted this to be a super easy decision for you to come listen and for you to know that it's meant for anybody looking to land their next job. You might be early in your job search and trying to figure out what has changed since the last time you did it. Or you maybe are in it for a longer time and you're frustrated and you're trying to figure out some strategies that can make this process go more smoothly and more quickly for you. Whether that's you or you're somebody who is preparing and thinking this might be in your future, you are in the right place. I know why you're here, but I want you to know why I do this as well. So we'll do a brief introduction here as we get started. I know you'll get to learn more about me and I'll share more of my story as we go along. But for starters, I want to let you know that this is not where I started. I haven't always been a coach. My career was actually in tech. My first and my last job in my career in the corporate space was at Microsoft. So I was a boomerang who started there straight out of college. I spent a few years there, went to a couple other hardware and software companies, and eventually I made my way back there as well. At the time that I left in 2023, my intent was to focus specifically on coaching people related to their careers. It wasn't focused on the job search at the time, but because of the changes in the market, I've really felt pulled to this. So this is where I feel I am meant to be right now. I know that people are clamoring for information in this space. That's what I wanted to create, was a resource for people who are looking to land that next job. The truth is that this job fits a concept that I coach on a lot. It is a Japanese word named ikigai. I'll spell it for you if it's new for you. It's spelled Ikigai. One day I'll do a whole episode on this at some time in the future, but I'll give you a brief taste of it right now because it really is central to how I coach people when they're looking for the next job. So Ikigai represents the intersection of 4 different areas. So if you think of 4 circles where they intersect with each other and there's that perfect center in the middle, that's Ikigai. What the 4 circles represent is what you're good at, what you love to do, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. If you're here and you're looking to land your next job, probably one of those 4 circles was out of alignment for you, at least at the end of when you had that last job. And that might be just that you were no longer getting paid to do it, right? That's what we're all looking for, is how do we find that job? The one that we're good at, we love to do, we can get paid for it, and the world needs it. That's what I believe this is for me. So career coaching, this is my ikigai. I love doing it. It drives me. It is my passion. And that's why I'm here to share. Now that we've had a chance to get to know each other just a tiny bit, let's go ahead and dive in on the top 6 trends that are driving the job market in 2026, because I know that is why you are here. So I'm going to go through 6 very different concepts here. Some of them might be good news to you. Some of them might be surprising. Above all else, I hope that what you will take away from this is an honest take that's very current on what's going on in the market. That's my commitment to you. I will always tell it to you how it is. And I want you to walk away with real actionable information that you can go implement. Our first trend is on cover letters. And I'm just going to say it bluntly. Cover letters are dead. Yep, you heard it right. Cover letters are dead. Now, some of you are probably saying, I just applied to a job and I had to write a cover letter. Of course, there are going to be exceptions to this. But what I am saying is that cover letters are not getting read in the majority of all cases. And particularly for anybody who is applying to a job and it says cover letter optional, I want you to think about how much time you've been spending writing those cover letters. And I get it. This is the perfect way for you to explain how you are a perfect fit for that job that you are applying for, why this is the company of your dreams. And yes, I would be all for it if that was actually what was happening on the other end, that people were reading these letters and they were starting to understand how perfectly aligned you were. But the reality is that nobody's reading them. And if nobody's reading them, I don't want you to be wasting your time on it, because time and our energy spent in the job search is so critically important. Now, where should you be spending your time instead of cover letters? I would really like to see you spending that time writing something to a connection at that company. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But if you were going to tell somebody how you were a perfect fit for this job, don't do that in a cover letter that's going to go into a black hole that you have no idea if somebody's going to read it. And we'll get to that a little bit later when we talk about connections. Okay, so hopefully that is good news for you, that if it asks you to include a cover letter, you don't need to. If they tell you include these 3 specific details in a cover letter, then absolutely. If they're going to take that time to actually tell you that they're interested in it, then they would be the exception. Okay, number 2 on my list is related to LinkedIn. You will hear me talk about LinkedIn a lot on this podcast. I think it can do amazing things, but it's really important that we pay attention to how LinkedIn changes. The algorithms change, the rules change, and this trend that I'm talking about right now is in particular related to a change that LinkedIn made last year. You used to be able to add an unlimited number of personalized notes when you were requesting a connection on LinkedIn. That is no longer true unless you have LinkedIn Premium, which again, future episode coming, we'll talk about that. But if you have the standard version of LinkedIn, you are only allowed to request connections with a personalized note. So unless you have LinkedIn Premium, you are only allowed to send 5 personalized connection requests per month. Do I think LinkedIn Premium is a good choice? It really can be a good choice. But what this has done, since the majority of people out there don't have LinkedIn Premium, is that it means that there's a lot of connection requests that are coming through that don't actually have that personalized note. And that means that people are more likely to be accepting those requests because they know that not everybody can be adding a note. So my advice a year ago was to always customize and personalize those invitations. I've moved away from that. And the reason I think that can be really good news for you is because, again, it reduces the time and energy you're spent. Now, if there's somebody that is somebody that you know, if there's somebody that you know personally that you'd really like to connect with and you want to send them a message, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if there is a company that you're looking at and you're just trying to get some connections within that company, go ahead and just hit that connect button. It doesn't have to always come with a personalized request. And quite frankly, sometimes it works better if it doesn't. What I'm seeing when people are spending less time on doing this is that they're making more connections. Even if it was just a simple message that you were sending before, you know how we can get into our heads and start to obsess about that message. What should I say? How are they going to take it? Am I sending it at the right time? What do they think of me when they read this message? Should I just copy and paste what I sent before? Will they know I copy and pasted it? Right? There's that incessant voice in our head that is being critical, because that's who we are as humans, of what we're sending. So what I'm saying is just go ahead, click, send those connection requests. Are there exceptions to the rule? Absolutely. But I think that it is much more acceptable now to be getting that connection through LinkedIn without a personalization. This trend is actually one that you can give a try right now. And I mean that for real. I am on LinkedIn. Go ahead and send me a connection request. I am Erika Parker Price, Erika with a K, and I would love for you to just send that over. You don't have to put a note, you don't have to say anything. I'll go ahead and accept all those requests that I see come in, and I would love to have you connect with me over there to just give this one a little bit of a try. So go ahead, pause the podcast, hop over to LinkedIn, add one new connection for the day, and then come right back here. Trend number 3 is related to gaining experience through projects of your own, whether that is freelance work, a side hustle that you start, just a project that you're working on independently. I want you to think about the experience that you're representing on your resume from a broad perspective. A lot of times we're thinking solely about the paid work that we've done at job A, job B, job C. But if you're in a position where you're either not working right now, or maybe you're not working in the job or the field that you want to be in, and you want to know how you can get some more real time 2026 experience, I just want to put the idea out there that you may be able to create this for yourself. So, for example, AI is something that you're going to see on so many job descriptions right now. Regardless of what field you're looking for, everybody's asking for some type of AI experience. So much so that AI is actually not really going to be the focus of any of these trends because I'm going to do a separate episode on it. Let me start by asking you a couple of questions, things for you to think about. What are your passions? What do you wish existed? What are you curious about? Who could you build something for? What I'm asking you to consider is if you were to just play around and learn, take this time, not just to be applying, not just to be scrolling on LinkedIn, not to be sending applications into the black hole that we're all familiar with, but what if you were actually to spend some of that time building, creating something? One of the reasons that I think this is so important, and this is something that I work on with my clients in my career reset program, is that it's important you have something you can control in this process. We all know that we can't control who's calling you back, how quickly they're opening your emails, when we're scheduling interviews. So many of these pieces are out of your control. But if you go out and create something that is in your control, it can also be a phenomenal story in an interview. Maybe you can put it on your LinkedIn. Depending on how far you take it, it can really be the satisfaction of just doing it. Or it might be something that you're sharing from a visibility and a credibility perspective. If you're going to put this on your resume or your LinkedIn, you don't have to share how much money you're making. Maybe it's zero, totally fine. You don't have to share how many hours you worked. Maybe you're putting 5 hours a week into this, but this still earns a spot there on your resume, your LinkedIn, or even just in conversations with people that you're networking. So when people ask you, hey, what have you been up to? You actually have something to say. I have clients that have built products, apps, custom AI agents. These are all things that they've done in the last year. And I'm not saying that they're doing this full time because they are still looking for work. Sometimes they're building for themselves. They might build it for a friend. Maybe it's a favorite nonprofit organization. It's just another idea for how you can take control for the experience that you're representing on your resume. It's a trend I'm seeing in 2026 because it's a way for you to build experience and then share that in the job search. Trend number 4 is applicant tracking systems and specifically how prolific they are. So better known as an ATS, a lot of people pay attention to whether or not a company has an ATS that is screening their applications and filtering people out. They've been around for a long time, more than a decade. They started out traditionally at really large companies, and they would help sort through all those resumes and applications and then filter it down to ideally come out with the best candidates for those jobs. What has changed, and a trend that we all need to be aware of, is that these application tracking systems are readily available across the board now. So it doesn't have to be a really large company that has invested in this expensive software. It's more than 3/4 of all companies that are using it. And they have access to it through LinkedIn, through other application tools. And so it is something that you need to be paying attention to. What does that mean? It means that the keywords really do matter. So if you're reading a job description and it is asking for specific skills, yes, you are going to have a better chance of getting through that system if those skills are represented in your resume. That doesn't mean I think you have to, customize every single resume for each job description, because that is a very time consuming process. But it does mean that when you're building that resume out initially, you want to pay attention to what are the main words that are out there for the jobs that you're looking for. There are tools that you can use. You can even get an ATS score. Again, we're going to cover that in a future episode. But for right now, I will just say applicant tracking systems are definitely prolific and universal out there. So it is something to pay attention to. You can either use one of the ATS tools that's out there, or you can use your favorite AI tool to really see how your resume compares to the job description. So I am just saying it's out there. It's something that you have to be aware. The fifth trend that's really changing in 2026 is interviews. I'm going to break this into two different categories because there are two specific things that have changed that I know have really surprised my clients when they have encountered it. The first one is the use of automated tools in the interviewing process. So whether this is a bot, whether it is just recorded answers, there's a lot of different ways that it can happen, but sometimes that early screening is done by an automated system. If you're not familiar with this, it can definitely be unnerving. I'm not saying it's the most common thing out there, because the most common is still to have a live virtual recruiter screen. That's generally going to be step one, but it is becoming common enough that I think it's important to pay attention to. My first piece of advice on this is to make sure you're familiar with what the rules are. Lots of different systems out there. And when I say rules, I mean, if it asks you a question and you record an answer, how long do you get? What's the time limit on that answer? Can you re-record? I think of it as I'm doing this podcast right now, right? If I say something I don't like, can I go ahead and hit stop and re-record it? Yes, of course I can, because it's my own episode here. But the rules of recording when it's an automated interview process are important that you understand what those rules are and what you're getting used to. I would definitely tell you to practice on something like Zoom, where you have a question that's written out and you just practice saying it into a blank screen, because it is definitely a different type of interview skill. So that's the first part of this fifth trend: bots, other automated systems. The second part is homework assignments. And this can be unnerving if it's something that you're asked and you're not familiar that it is a trend out there. It is coming up in all kinds of different jobs. And what I typically see is some type of scenario where you're given a certain amount of time, let's say maybe 48 hours, to work on an assignment. And then you'll be asked to come back in and present or share the work that you've done. So for example, they will ask you to come up with a strategy to go with this case study that they have presented to you. And when I say present, I mean really in a written format. So you'll be getting some sort of documentation. It obviously depends on what job this is, but this is just one particular example. There will frequently be a recommendation that you spend maybe 4 hours on this. Do you spend 4 hours out of the 48 you're given? You tell me. I know most people probably spend more than that on it. But I want you to know that this is a thing. We can debate over whether this is fair, whether this is a good use of your time. But if you know that this is happening out there, hopefully you won't be surprised if this is something that comes your way. I have also seen collaboration in an interview. So being told in advance that you're going to be meeting with one of the managers and you will have a working session. Now, the good thing about this is I do think it gives hiring managers, an opportunity to see how you really work. But it's also really different than what most of us expect out of an interview. So I'm just trying to put the trends out there so people know what is actually happening. On to the final trend. This is really an evergreen trend. It is true every single year, but I want to say that it's even more needed now. And that's that the connections matter. So rather than focusing your attention on how many applications you've done, I really encourage clients to put the focus on how many connections they've made. The statistic you will hear me repeat over and over on this podcast is that 80% of all jobs come through a connection. I'm going to say that again. 80% of all jobs come through a connection rather than just a cold application that happens through LinkedIn. Can you get a job that way? Absolutely, you still can. But most of the time, it is going to be somebody who had a referral into the company. In my own experience, I really do believe that it proves out to be true. Both my personal experience and everything that I've witnessed with my clients, those connections matter, and those connections can absolutely lead to job offers. Now, the beautiful thing about networking, which I know is not a word that everybody likes, but it's really just connecting. If there's one thing to look at in terms of how you're spending your time and energy on the job search, I would really encourage you to look at how much time you're spending applying versus how much time you're spending connecting with people that are in the business, people that work at the companies where you want to work, whether these are people that you know well, people that you're interested in getting to know and maybe have something in common in. This is a trend that is not going to go away. It is only going to get more important. Okay, so those are my 6 trends related to the job search in 2026. And I know your question right now is going to be, wait, there's no AI in there as a trend. I couldn't put AI in here as a trend because it has so many permutations. I decided that AI needs to have its own episode. And since I'm dropping 5 of these episodes together when I launch, they'll all come out on the same day. So you can go binge on that one too. I am also going to do one that is about the market forces and environment that are out there. Those aren't things that you can necessarily influence. I think what we talked about here today, you can actually make a lot of those changes, right? Related to your cover letter, LinkedIn, special projects that you're working on, how you interview, connections that you make, all of that. That's all things that you can influence. And that's what I wanted this first episode to be focused on. Thank you for being here today on this very first episode. I will be back every Monday with a new topic. If you're wanting access on a more regular basis to this content, I mentioned it earlier, I have a career reset program where I give my clients the step-by-step frameworks to land that next job as efficiently as possible. I know how hard it is out there. There's a full curriculum on everything from resumes to interviewing that comes with that particular program. Most importantly, you get coaching from me, live coaching, and a community of your peers. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can always come check it out at my website, erikaparkerprice.com. That'll be in the show notes as well. Okay, so let's do a quick summary of those 6 trends. First one, cover letters are dead. If they're not required, don't bother doing it. Trend number 2, you don't always need a note to go with your LinkedIn connection request. Connect away. Third trend is freelance and side hustling are great ways to build your experience. Number 4, keywords matter because everyone has an ATS system now, Applicant Tracking Systems. Number 5, interviews have changed. It may not be done by a person. You might be asked to do a homework assignment, so don't be surprised if either of those come their way. And the final trend, number 6, not really a trend, just evergreen. Connections are more important than ever. 80% of all jobs come through a connection, and that's where you should be focusing your time. That trend is here to stay. Those are my 6 trends for 2026. I look forward to being here with you every Monday. Like I said, we have a number of episodes that are dropping this week. If this is something that you think would be helpful to somebody else, please share this episode with them. Go ahead and click the follow button in your favorite podcast app so you will get notified every time we have a new episode. Thank you and have a great week.
That's a wrap for this week on Land Your Next Job. If this episode helped, please leave a quick review and subscribe wherever you listen. Share it with a friend in transition, and I'll see you next Monday. Let's land your next job together.